Ah, yes. Here we are. It's Let's Talk, KWMR's call-in radio show. A special day in the studio today. We have a full studio. Joining me, I'm Paul Raffel. Stephen Hurwitz, co-hosting. Hello. Charles Schultz, co-hosting.
Hello.
And also the guest co-hosting, Melanie Hall, visiting the studio for the first time.
Joining all the way from, Olive, New York? No.
From Samsonville, New York, in the Hudson Valley.
Ah, it's supposed to be lovely there in the Hudson Valley.
It's beautiful. It's like this area, but without the water. We have the Hudson River, though.
Well, you should see it in the summer.
What's that number?
Number? Oh, yes. So this is Let's Talk, call-in radio. Why don't you read some of the script there?
Yes. I'm a good reader. This is Let's Talk Radical Radio. We're getting to the root causes of important issues of the day. This on-air community forum believes your voice matters, and we welcome all thoughts and views without judgment. Join this conversation at 415-663-8492.
And what are we talking about today?
We're talking about,
social media, I was going to say. But you, Mr. Hurwitz, take it away.
We're talking about social media.
Oh, fantastic. So are you a user of social media, Stephen?
Yes, I am.
Let me just say, this is a call-in show, so please call in at 415-663-8492 or 8317. Let's open all the lines. And let us know what your relationship with Facebook and Twitter and all the other social media, Snapchat. What are the others? I don't even know. There's so many of them. But,
Instagram, is that one?
Instagram is
Instagram, yes.
LinkedIn, ooh.
Our president doesn't seem to have any problem using 140 digits.
He's a great tweeter, as we say. And
but you all use it. I'm the only non-social. Well, I have LinkedIn. I do have that, but I don't use it for anything.
Right.
But you use it.
I use Facebook, but I do not use Twitter. And I am just starting to use Instagram, but mainly for publicizing my work. I'm a children's book illustrator.
Oh.
So Facebook I used for my friends and a little bit to show off new work. Mm-hmm. But I try to keep it very private. I'm not one of the people that will tell the world everything that's going on in my private life. I couldn't abide that.
Well, it's also the banality of it. People say, well, I had a cheese sandwich for lunch. I thought, well,
how do you know?
Sandwich? I did have it. I was actually, somebody signed me up for Facebook, and in 2006, I think it was, maybe a little earlier. So I was very, very early onto Facebook, but I found it just terribly depressing, and there are lots of reasons for that. I think it causes, for some people anyway, depression. One of the theories of Facebook is that, and maybe social media generally, is that it's a recreation of the Victorian public self. It's not who you are, it's how you want other people to perceive you. But it works in both directions, because you're always looking on that screen at that idealized self. So it's sort of lying to other people and to yourself simultaneously. And it's always in flux. On the show that I do a couple of weeks ago, we had Philip Murawski on, the economist and historian from the University of Notre Dame, who talks about Facebook as a kind of neoliberal training kit, that it teaches you to be an entrepreneur of yourself. And so you're constantly changing your image and your photos and your self-presentation to respond to a marketplace, which either likes your work or ignores it.
Yes, those likes are very important.
But I think for us, for our audience, certainly it's a generational difference in social media. So we all, maybe not me, I'm a degenerate, but most people were socialized in a world before things like social media and cell phones and texting and all of that. So they know how to have conversations with other people, and they know how to sort of look each other in the eye and do stuff like that. Now, the people my age and younger who've been socialized through social media in large part, they've never developed those skills. It's not a tool that they can then use in a way to, say, promote your work, like Melanie, or Paul Raffel. You do a lot of news on your Facebook feed, I'm told. But for them, it is their self. And it begs a question. By the way, 663-8492.
You're in
Yes,
such
please.
trouble.
Please do call in.
It's the only
You
way
are-
to stop me from speaking.
Keep digging, my friend.
Demolish Charles's anti-Facebook views. But 663-8492 would be one line, and 8317 is the other line. Call in. You'll hear a little weird swishy sound, and then that's when I'm plugging you into the system. Just hang on until I say you're on the air. Give us your name, or any name, actually. It doesn't really matter. Give us a name, turn down your radio, and please watch your language, because, this is... Unlike the web, we are governed by the FCC.
We live under the Taliban-like rules of the FCC.
So, Melanie, do you find it's an effective advertising or promotional tool?
It is. It is, because when I meet people, I can tell them to look on Facebook to see what my work looks like, besides my website. And I try to put some current artwork on my Facebook page. But I respond more to people's Facebook posts when they're inventive, they're creative, they're visually interesting, or they're pointing out something that's curious or unique. When it's just a regurgitation of something that is everyone's passing from one to the other, some banal, funny joke or something, I think, oh, please, it's what a waste of time.
Which is what Stephen, you were saying that earlier.
Yes, if people used the time they spent on Facebook in productive activity, we could change the world.
Yeah.
Although, there's a case to be made that social media, not just Facebook, but social media have brought people together to do big protests when necessary.
Exactly.
The Egyptian
I think in
revolution.
particular, millions of people have witnessed police brutality, murdering of people, shooting black people in the back, and where would we see that if it wasn't for Facebook?
Right. Well, the Women's March, too. There was a lot of community, feeling of community. I posted, I attended the march in Manhattan, and I posted my photographs of the march, and it's got so many people saying, oh, thank you for participating. And it just kind of got people tuned in. It was a good wake-up call to realize how many people were interested in this.
Right. I think in that way it's a good political tool, although, of course, everything that you do on Facebook and elsewhere is being used for nefarious purposes.
Well,
but
I have a country view, but we have a caller.
We have a caller. Hi, caller. You're on the air. What's your name, please?
Oh, I'm just calling to invite Charles over to come look at cat videos with me.
Now, truth be told, I sent the caller a cat and pigeon video. Which was very amusing. In French, no less.
And where are you finding things like that? On YouTube?
Yeah, on YouTube, yes. Somebody had sent it to me years ago. So,
So my name is Esmeralda.
Esmeralda, that's a wonderful name.
That's the name I'll be using.
How do you spell that again?
Strict, easy, Meralda. If you go to my Facebook page, you'll see how it's spelled. Oh, sorry, that was silly. Okay, so I'm just calling in because I am an addict of Facebook, and hello, my name is Esmeralda, and I'm addicted to Facebook.
Facebook Anonymous.
Right.
So every day you're on Facebook. How many hours of the day do you think you're on Facebook?
Oh, I don't know. 6, 7, 8, 9. Actually, no, I check in on it periodically, and I use it for shameless self-promotion because I have different endeavors that I need to promote. I really doubt its effectiveness in some cases, and then in other times I'm sort of more satisfied with it. But there are all these super secret rules about how to get the most exposure. So there's this whole sort of bizarre, ever-mutating science to how to make it work for you if you are interested in self-promotion. So that's one interesting facet of...
What are those secrets?
Well, I mean, for example, if you're trying to promote something like, let's say, an event that you're producing, I was advised that it's better just to take an inspiring photo from the web, either Photoshop or PowerPoint in some sort of interesting line of some verbiage, like a quote, an inspiring quote, okay? And then post it on the site that is your event site. And that gets more attention than if you actually give solid information, like come to this event, here's a fabulous photo of the band playing, it's here, go to this link and buy your tickets. Like all of that is nothing to just putting a picture of like a sunset with an inspiring quote. And it goes further than that. It goes even further than that, but I mean it's minutia, but like how big the characters are within the ratio of the image, the ratio of characters to size of image. I mean, all of this dictates how many people will see what you've posted. So, you know, there are actually people that are out there, it's a whole cottage industry, to train you to use all these platforms like Instagram and Twitter and Facebook.
There are people making money off it all. I mean, what's his name?
Yeah.
The guy who just self-immolated, Yiannopoulos, is making big money off it and getting book deals, or he did.
I wonder about the generational thing, though, because you have a savviness that you bring to Facebook that younger generations doesn't have. And so that when we talk about people who are shamed, you know, on these kinds of social media websites, the destructiveness of, you know, their self-image is all their self-image is all invested in this virtual world, and then the carpet can be pulled out from under them so quickly, which would not be a problem for somebody who matured in, you know, a world without Facebook, for whom Facebook is just a tool.
You bring up a good point,
though. That is good, yeah.
What is our responsibility in terms of someone else's comment? Do we back off, or do we actually criticize someone? I mean, are we relentlessly are we positive all the time, or is it fair to call somebody stupid?
Well,
what do you think, caller?
If they're stupid.
People say whatever they want, and it's just how do you react to it? Do you participate or not? It's a choice. I've looked at some very fiery threads. There's a word, a new word, a new use of that word, which is all about the social media. I've gone on and looked at some very fiery threads involving different people reacting to, of course, the president, who shall remain nameless, and all kinds of, like, usually we're used to seeing people's threads where it's the preaching to the choir ethic, that dynamic.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I have a friend who has friends who are both Republicans, staunch Republicans, and staunch Democrats. So these are wicked, nasty, vitriolic. They're not really conversations. They're sort of snark fests, and they are nasty. So I stopped looking at those because I felt that my blood pressure was just like, rising, and which is probably good. I have low blood pressure, but but anyway, I just felt that this is going to make my head explode, and I'm never going to convince these people over here to come around to my point of view, and they're not going to do the same. So I stopped looking. But that kind of thing, I'm not sure if it, I guess it's good to see how people are behaving to have the veil lifted, maybe.
The trouble is that it's open to humans, and humanity has many, many different facets, and a lot of which are kind of nasty and competitive or aggressive.
Well, one of the things is that 90% of communication is nonverbal. It is how another person in real life, in real time, presents himself to you, how they look at you, the tone of their voice, the way their body is moving. All of that information is just not present here, and so I can't often understand what somebody telling a funny joke over email, or are they saying something quite mean? Or,
jokes don't work, by the way.
Yeah.
Jokes don't. Yeah, roll right.
Yeah. Oh, I'm really bad at email because I tend to skim an email, and sometimes I'll miss important information and misconstrue. And just what you said, Charles, I can't tell the tone, so I can't tell what the person being snarky. Do they, how are they responding to me? Do they love me? Do they hate me? It's so frustrating, and I get into trouble sometimes.
You're not emailing an ex-spouse where it becomes very helpful, unless they send it back in all caps.
Right.
Tell Stephen.
Right.
That's fairly obvious. Shouting by email. So maybe that's part of it, that the subtleties of interaction are lost when it's all online like that.
Well, that's what the emojis are supposed to help with, the smiley face, the angry face, the thumbs up. But it's
That's an embarrassment.
It's so, yes.
Yeah.
It really is.
It's arbitrary,
so corny.
infantile. And I find myself, using them. But,
Me too.
Well, Esmeralda, you also, you're on one of these other things, Instagram, I think.
Instagram is image-driven. I only knew one person who was posting, very interestingly, very dark pulp noir writings that he was conjuring and throwing them out on Instagram, and I think enough people begged him to stop. It's a very interesting approach, and which made a lot of, and he's a younger person, like 26-year-old man, so a lot of us moms were writing him and saying, dude, are you okay? Honey, is there something we can do to help you? Because you seem depressed. But yes, Instagram is very photographically image-driven, and it seems to be, I believe, more popular with young people than Facebook, which has been taken over by older people.
So there's no real text in the Instagram posts? It's mostly just pics and look at me,
It's like the hashtag universe. You post a photo and you have hashtags, and I still don't understand that. But I guess it means that you're networking with tag words so that people, perfect strangers, can follow that.
Well, I found I teach art and illustration, and some of my students use Instagram, and they tell me that they get jobs from publishing companies, and it's very effective. That it's a good way to present work. So that's why I am starting an account, and I'm going to try it.
Excellent.
That sounds very good, yeah.
So for a visual artist, it's an excellent format.
Yeah, but the same problem is that's about amplifying your voice. Whereas I think, again, for people younger than myself, it stands in place of your voice. It's just, thinking about our relationship to technology, we think of technology as something on the outside that impacts us. When, in fact, as I say, certainly for people my age and younger, technology is the thing through which you perceive what's real and not real. And so it has such a disempowering effect that when you see, say, young people get together in social settings, they don't know how to converse with each other. They don't really even know how to flirt. I mean, you would do that over text or something like that.
But Charles, isn't this an opportunity? Aren't we more powerful than otherwise? For the first time in history, we're all publishers. Now, what we publish and how we use that is a different question, but never in history have we had the ability to get our words to a larger audience frankly, for free.
Exciting, certainly, and lots of positives to it. One of the negatives that was pointed out was what they called techno-Orientalism, without going into who Edward Said was and what his book Orientalism was about. Basically, that the Egyptians couldn't have had an Arab Spring of their own. Only with Western technology was something like that popular. So I think there's a kind of a downside to viewing the world, again, very disempowering. How do you have a march without Facebook? How do you have a revolution without Facebook? I mean, it sort of takes up all the space that was once occupied by, I think, more intimate relationships and different ways of communicating. The problem with everybody publishing is, how does anybody know what's good or bad? It's all just out there.
Well, how many likes you get.
How many likes you get, that's right. Well, it's a marketplace, yeah. And
it's the same thing as writing a book.
Of fake and false information, I'll say.
That's it.
Yeah, well, yeah, how do you tell?
Well, we talked about verification, which is you get that email with somebody telling you a joke, with somebody being quite serious. You don't know. Verification is something that happens with human contact. And it can't, we're trying to think of this way we could simulate all of it. I think of people, my age who are so into it, is they're closing down. Their worlds are getting smaller and smaller, more and more narrow, which is just a part of the way we live and work now. We're in cars, we commute, we're in, in our little private spaces all the time. And so now we've taken that one thing that was convivial, that one thing that was about being in a room with other people, and we've turned that into a virtual space, too, into something that's very private and closed, even though it appears to open us up to the world. I wonder if there isn't kind of a dark side to this. Well, obviously.
Well, there is.
Well, anything that's been in print, people tend to give it a lot of respect. And now, if something's on social media, it gets more respect and belief than it deserves. Like when Wikipedia first came out, I mean, we never used Wikipedia as a reliable source of information because you don't know, you can't trace it back to its source. But so many people now accept Wikipedia, and I find that frightening.
Yes, it's the self-edited. What do you call it? The group knowledge thing.
A network of mind or a hive mind or something.
Yeah,
Jimmy Wales, by the way, in his declaration, his sort of about Wikipedia, the founder said that this would be his realization of Friedrich von Hayek's vision of the marketplace. And he's saying what it says is that no individual could know as much as this group interacting. And there is some, I think, superficially some logic there, but this is a very old problem in Western civilization, which, especially in the 20th century and today, is where does authority come from? How do you know what you know, and how do you trust who is telling you? And we haven't worked it out, but the California ideology, the Facebook ideology, or Wikipedia says, well, you can know because if you can get everyone to participate in the marketplace spontaneously, verity will arise. We'll find the truth. We'll
and it's a great idea, right? I mean, it's a great theory.
Feels good.
And Wikipedia is that experiment happening, right? I mean, that's the... Anyway, Esmeralda, thank you.
Go away.
Yes, we have another caller, actually. So thank you, Esmeralda, and get some oil on those door hinges, would you? Thank you so much.
No, that was a ghost. Okay, bye.
Is that a euphemism?
And hello, caller. You are on the air. What's your number, please? What's your number? What's your name, please? Hello. Yellow. Caller, you're on the air. Going once, going twice. Okay.
Well, this is Let's Talk, and the number is 663-8492 or 663-8317.
And, of course, you can always tweet us at, I think you're supposed to put the at in front, at Let's Talk on KWMR. We have a caller on the other line. Hello there, you're on the air. What's your name, please?
Hello, this is Pamela.
Pamela, how are you?
Hi, I'm very good, thank you.
All right.
Listening to this with interest. Found a few things that I felt I should bring up.
Yeah.
Let me first say that analyzing the data that's on the Internet is not a cottage industry. It's very, very, very big business.
Yeah.
With huge companies like IBM, Oracle, Salesforce, etc., all very heavily in it and selling extremely expensive software to do the analysis. The second thing is to point out to everybody that doesn't know this already that anything that you put on the Internet is there forever. It never goes away. You can delete it if you want to, but it has not gone. And every single thing that is ever put up there is pulled into these huge big data. We've probably all heard about big data, and this is really, really, really big data. It collects every Twitter, everything you put on the on Facebook, everything you photograph, every picture that goes up, everything is collected. It's keyworded, it's stored forever, and it's split into things that they call snippets, which are sold by the hundreds of thousands to companies who want to use it for their own purposes, whether that's government to see what you're talking about, or big businesses that want to sell you stuff. And by the way, when they store those things, they also analyze what they call the emotion in the article. So whether it's positive, negative, happy, not happy, threatening, or whatever it is, that's all stored in the databases. So all of that is being collected, analyzed, and sold. And my last point in that, if you're not scared enough already, is
I am.
Every photo that you put up there, wherever you put it, is analyzed for everything. If you take a picture of a couple of your friends in a bar, for example, every person that's in the picture is picked up and identified. All the people in the background, including any products that you're using. If you're holding a can of beer, if there's something that can be identified, that's picked up and stored as well. So all of that is available. Everything that you do, say, write about, photograph, is collected. It's all analyzed in minute detail, and it's sold for huge amounts of money to anyone who can pay the price.
Yeah.
So there you go. That's my point.
Well, that was lovely.
Thank you, Pamela.
But that is, and Facebook is a money-making operation. That's how they make their money, isn't it?
But they analyze everything. They analyze, millions of Twitters are analyzed every second.
Yeah.
Everything in Twitter is picked up, everything in Facebook, everything in any of the places that you've mentioned, LinkedIn, Google+, everything.
Yeah.
Everything.
So it's Big Brother is what we're having. It's like science fiction is here now.
It's Big Brother, but people don't seem to be aware of it. I mean, they happily take pictures of themselves drunk. They take pictures of people they don't even know. And they say things they don't really mean, and they have no idea of how this might be used by anybody.
Well, interestingly, it's voluntary, so it's a kind of inverted version of the German Democratic Republic, right, where the Stasi was paying people to spy on everybody else. But here, you give your information for free to Facebook or to any of these things, and you feel like, again, the sort of happiness of participation. This was
it's voluntary in a sense, but you don't know. I mean, people don't know what the implications of it are.
Yeah.
Well, this is B.F. Skinner's utopia and our nightmare, which is that you create the conditions in which people do something that harms them or that deludes them or fools them in some way, and it's experienced as some kind of pleasure, some kind of feeling of positive participation, blah 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 blah,
Right.
Which is what the world Skinner wanted to live in, and so that's.
Anyway, let me just say
I'm
that.
going to let you carry on discussing from now, and I'm going to hang up.
Thank you, Pamela.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Pamela.
it.
Take care, Pamela.
Bye.
And we do have another caller on the other line. Hang on, please. I just have to do a little station break. This is KWMR and Point Reyes Station, 90.5 Point Reyes Station, 89.9 Bolinas, and 92.3 San Geronimo Valley, streaming online at... where are we? KWMR.org. That's right. And this is Let's Talk, call-in radio. We want to hear we want to hear the group.
We've heard some good stuff already.
Knowledge. And that's what this show is all about. Think of it as your own social media on the air.
Watch out for Big Brother.
Except we're not data mining here. We're not data mining, really. Although we would like to know, caller, what's your name, please?
Joan, and I'd like to make a comment on the last caller that if people haven't seen the documentary Citizen 4, which did get an Academy Award for documentary a couple of years ago, I think 2014, that's certainly well worth viewing. And if they want a more feature film format, they could try out Oliver Stone's film from last year, Snowden.
So Citizen
very
4
powerful and gave an indication of some of those technologies available. The other question or comment I wanted to make was that when I have used Wikipedia, because in the beginning it was sort of a, is this true or not? But now it does appear that they actually footnote quite well. And one other question I had going back a couple of weeks is somebody mentioned a representative down in Southern California named Dana Rohrabacher, but they didn't make any further comments. And that would have been me. That area, so I was just wondering what you can say about that. And I'll take your answer off the air.
Thank you, Joan. Thank you very much.
So Dana Rohrabacher is a longtime Republican congressman who represents mostly Rancho Palos Verdes in that area of Los Angeles County and Orange County. And he's just a kind of nitwit. He got sucked into some sort of scam where a dodgy film producer who had ties apparently with terrorists purchased his film script, and so Rohrabacher was introducing him to everyone around Washington. When it turned out that this guy was some kind of scam artist with dubious friends, Rohrabacher returned his money and said that, it was all a big mistake. He's just a kind of typical Orange County goof noodle, but the dangerous Republican variety. I don't have anything more intelligent to say about that, Joan. I'm sorry.
Well, yeah, thank you, Joan. Thanks for the call. And the lines are 415-663-8492 or 8317. And I'd like to thank some underwriters now. KWMR is underwritten by the 2017 Geography of Hope Conference, Ancestors and the Land, Our Past, Present, and Future on March 17th, 18th, and 19th in Point Reyes Station, featuring field trips and discussions with writers and activists about ancestry, culture, community, land, food, and immigration. Presented by Black Mountain Circle. Tickets online at gohconference.org. And programming support for KWMR is provided by Marin Agricultural Land Trust, a member-supported non-profit organization working to preserve Marin County farmland on the web at malt.org. That's MALT.org. My mouth is not working. Sebastopol Documentary Film Festival, the 10th annual Sebastopol Documentary Film Festival held March 23rd through 26th at the Sebastopol Center for the Arts, bringing independent documentaries and their creators from around the world to the North Bay. Ticket information at 707-829-4797 or online at sebdocs.org. That's SEBDOCS.org. Thank you to our underwriters. Give us a call. Why don't you tell us about your relationship to social media on 415-663-8492 or 8317. And part of the impetus for this show was this article that was put on Facebook, actually. It's one of those links that I actually clicked through on about the rise of the weaponized AI propaganda machine, the artificial intelligence propaganda machine, about all the exactly what Pamela was talking about, the this robotized automatic vetting, just data collection all the time, collecting your likes. And it actually says with 10 likes they have a psychological profile. There's this professor from Cambridge University came up with the software, the algorithms. He developed it, and then Steve Bannon is now in charge of it. It's a company called Cambridge Analytica, and he is on the board. And let's see, there's this wonderful
little highlight from the.
It's really actually very eye-opening, very frightening, because everything is done automatically. They just have this set of software that just analyzes all Facebook posts. And unfortunately, Cambridge Analytica, well, not unfortunately, but that would be an opinion. Cambridge Analytica is using it, of course, used it during Trump's election. They are using it for political purposes, but only for right-wing politicians. So in Europe, they're trying to market it to Marine Le Pen, and in Norway, they're trying to market it to the right-wing guy there, the fascist there, because it's Breitbart basically is behind it as well. They bought into it.
Well, it's fascinating. I think that the commodification has to come up at some point, which is this idea that you can take parts of yourself and you can represent them digitally. You essentially can put them up for sale or on the internet or for other people to observe. It's very weird. It's a culture of obsessive transparency, almost and definitely into the pornographic, where you're constantly having to expose yourself in more and more extreme ways for other people's consumption. As you were saying, Melanie, you don't put sort of personal things on there. You just focused on your work.
Yeah, pretty much. But if I put something on Facebook, I have the kind of personality where I want it to be uplifting. I want it to be inspiring, make people happy. Why put something in that's like dark or
Political?
Well, I do put some political things in once in a while. Like the Women's March was very important to me.
Cambridge
so
Analytica knows all this about you.
Well, should I be afraid? Afraid?
Known subversive Melanie Hall.
Does this go in some huge vat? Or is somebody who is it that's overlooking all this? I can't imagine things to be that organized.
In this case, it's right-wing money, as millionaires and billionaires are putting money into it. Breitbart, the staff of Breitbart, including Steve Bannon, the head of the National Security Commission, he's basically on the board. He's running that as well. Here it is, with a mere 10 likes as input. This model that was developed by this Cambridge professor, who actually didn't make any money on it because they just kind of stole it from him, or it was in the open, I guess. They're just the ones who are using it most efficiently. With a mere 10 likes as input, his model could appraise a person's character better than an average coworker. With 70 likes, it could know a subject better than a friend. With 150 likes, better than their parents. With 300 likes, Kozinski's machine could predict a subject's behavior better than their partner. With even more likes, it could exceed what a person thinks they know about themselves. That's the quote that was given. So, and they're just doing this all the time. Every time you hit the like button, they are getting a picture. It comes up on this computer, and you are automatically targeted with messages that will reinforce your views, or will go against your views, or will incite you in some way. We are personally targeted. We think there are so many of us online on Facebook. There's 1 billion users now on Facebook, but it's not true. Where they are targeting everyone personally, anyone who has this psychological profile.
Where do the messages come up that are targeted to us? Is it because I have a Mac.
on the wall or whatever it's called?
And there are sponsored messages.
I don't seem to be getting those, but I don't have. My laptop is adjusted so I don't get pop-up messages. I wonder if it's if there's a turn-off valve for that.
You can control the messages. Yes. You can control them.
But again, I mean, that's, I think, a generational difference. That people who are just raised with these technologies don't have that sense, I don't want that kind of... I don't want to be marketed to in that way. And it's a performance in society as well. I mean, it's all it's considered quite natural, I think really from boomers on, but it's become kind of really deeply embedded in millennials like myself, that you are constantly performing. Everything is a performance. All of your relationships, all of your public life, even your private life, everything you do is not really you, it's a version of you. And so all of this performativity, I mean, it's creating a separation between who we are and what we'd like to think about ourselves, or what we'd like other people to think about us.
Charles, some people are just hanging out with their friends.
I think that the concept of friendship has been so attenuated and denuded in our culture that a word ceases to have any meaning if it means people blabbing on Facebook, at least for me.
Blabbing.
But
well, it's a community.
Well, what does a community mean in that sense?
Right.
I mean, that means anything is friendship and anything is community. I mean,
it's like reading neighborhood events in your local newspaper. So when you have a Facebook friends and you find out what they're doing, it's kind of it's like looking at a newspaper, what's going on, what other people are doing, are they on vacation, do they have a new baby, that sort of thing. That's the light friendly use of Facebook.
You know, you point something out there that a lot of it is trivial.
Trivial, yeah.
I mean, cats are trending, dogs, puppies used to be trending.
Puppies are great.
I love puppies.
I love puppies. I want to see puppies all day.
What about puppies that are sleeping with tigers?
Exactly.
Really? Well, why not? Oh, that's a little bit edgy.
But you see, that's the funny thing is that it's all input for data collectors, which is Facebook. That's why it was designed in the first place. So we have a caller. Just hang on, caller. So for our Analytica, the feedback is instant, response automated. Did the specific swing voter in Pennsylvania click on the ad attacking Clinton's negligence over her email server? Yes. Serve her more content that emphasizes failures of personal responsibility. If she didn't click on it, the automated script will try a different headline, perhaps one that plays on a different personality trait. Mm-hmm. It's absolutely personal now.
Well, this is just an extension of the focus group politics of the 80s and 90s, which started in the world of advertising and marketing and remains there. But we have a caller.
Right. We have a caller. You're on the air. What's your name, please?
It's Amanda.
Oh, great gracious.
Hello.
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 So I utilize social media minimally, but more so for the media organization that I work for. Mm-hmm. I don't have my own Twitter account. I would tweet on behalf of KWMR because we feel that that's another useful way to get out important traffic and weather information, possibly to serve folks who are out of our listening area, which is not vast, to help them get information. And we've been urged by the National Federation of Community Broadcasters to consider ourselves a media organization, which would also include print, as well as digital media and social media, to utilize our message as a small community radio station.
That's excellent.
And I was really impressed with the fact that I think social media really helped push the donations for the ACLU on the weekend that they raised more money than they had in the previous 2 years.
True.
And so that's a great use of social media. And I think people just need to work on their own filters to decide what they want to spend time looking at. You can breeze by a bunch of crap. You can identify what it is pretty quickly and get to the heart of the matter. Like if you want to dwell on the puppy pictures, which I love looking at pictures of puppies.
Don't we all?
I just could spend the entire day looking at pictures of small dogs that are young.
Yes.
You can ask my husband. It's just a fact. But I'll tell you, the one post that I put on Facebook, I rarely put very personal things on there, that got the most hits of anything I've ever put on for anything, and I agree with whatever her name was, who called in earlier about trying to promote events on Facebook. It doesn't always work. You have to sort of find an edge.
Esmeralda was
Esmeralda, yes. I completely concur with Esmeralda on her thoughts about that. But I once took a crock pot out of a cabinet and inadvertently dropped a heavy glass lid directly on my head and caused a giant round knob of a bruise in the middle of my forehead. And that post got more attention than anything I've ever put. So really that should sort of tell you a lot about what people are looking for in social media.
We just want to see people smacking themselves in the head.
Puppies with head injuries is going to shut down the internet.
It could. It could completely crash it, and I wouldn't be surprised at all. So I think this is a really good topic. I'm going to get off the phone so more people can call in. But there's one more thing, because I was hoping that somebody would call in about this. But I just received a poster to put up from Madeline Hope. They're doing an event on Friday, March 3rd, next week from 5:30 to 8:30 p.m. at the Dance Palace in Point Reyes Station, and it's a movie. It's called Screenagers, and it just shows all these young people just with their heads tilted down, completely distorting the growth of their upper spinal area by looking at these screens all the time. And it's a 5:30 p.m. There's a dinner, 6:30, setting boundaries for internet use for youth, and then the documentary is at 7 p.m. and it's presented by the West Marin Coalition for Healthy Kids, co-sponsored by the West Marin School PTSA.
Excellent.
So I wanted to just let people know about that, and we'll put up the flyers here at KWMR. But It's called Screenagers. I'm sure you can look it up on the internet.
It's a great title.
All right, thanks.
Thanks, Amanda.
Thank you, Amanda. Well, yeah, I think, again, it helps to get for certain things in a very limited way. So, yeah, you can get a lot of people out to a march. What happens the day after the march? Where does everybody go? What is the agenda? What are you going to do? Working in politics, if you want to accomplish something that's meaningful, you're looking at 5, 10, 15, 20-year commitment. It can't be done overnight,
Right.
and it is, really a very long-term process, which requires a huge amount of learning and I know it's the buzzword, organizing over a very long period of time, staying with a topic, whereas we just chase one enthusiasm to the next. So, it was, who remembers smart meters? Well, that was the end of the world when it was an issue, and then now it's sort of just disappeared. Nobody thinks about that anymore, or there'll be a vogue for anti-nuclear and a vogue for this or that. Now Trump, I guess, has bothered everybody. But I'd be very interested to see all of those people that are in a fever pitch about Trump today. How many of them are just bored with it? They're getting back to planning their trip to Mexico in 8 months.
It's not going to happen.
You
Guy's
think
destroying my mind.
well, Stephen's going to be with it. Well, I mean, some people did stick with the Bush thing, but, we all marched against the Iraq War, and, thank goodness it stopped the war from happening, and we live in a more peaceful world today. Oh, wait.
Right.
But Obama dropped 26,000 bombs in the world in 2016, up 13% from 2015. So this thing where, you just find the right person to hate, and we'll all get angry, and we'll get on Facebook and complain, and then we'll go have a march. But then the day after that, where do people go? What's the agenda? What are we actually trying to accomplish?
Actually, the day after, you'll be posting pictures, and you'll be exchanging views with everyone who was at the march, and there'll be an organization that's posted online that you'll join. I mean, it's the same thing. It's just big. It's huge. That's all, and it has nefarious purposes as well.
Well, let me say about a positive
we're playing into. But
I would just say the positive side of it is basically defensive. Is that you can get a lot of people to oppose things, and you can freak politicians out, and you can stop bad things from happening, and that's great. And so for the pipeline, all those pipeline issues, it was good with Keystone XL. It was good with the Dakota Access Pipeline. But that issue just keeps coming back up again because those industries are interested in continuing their desire to develop these things. So we can block for a while, but we have to have some kind of long-term vision that we're really pushing.
Well, here's a little factoid that I thought was interesting. In December 2008, Supreme Court of the Australian Capital Territory, I guess that's around Canberra, ruled that Facebook is a valid protocol to serve court notices to defendants.
You can be served on Facebook.
On Facebook.
Oh, wow.
About that.
Oh.
You know what? This is just an attack on labor to put process servers out of business.
Yeah.
Anyway, I have to say that part of my morning routine is put the coffee on, make coffee, make toast, sit down, check my email, and then go to Facebook and see, and alternate on, and all those providers of left-wing news because I'm.
Yeah, well, I'm addicted to it, too. I've got my beloved machine right here. Yes, my darling. Soon this will be over and we can be alone together. Sorry, I was talking to my laptop. So I don't exempt myself from this in any way, but we have a consciousness of what we're doing.
Right.
Do people who are 20 years old or 15 years old have a consciousness of their relationship to these technologies? This is the thing through which they know what's real and not real.
Does this contribute to the young people being apathetic?
Yeah, I think it's a passive aggressive. It's a passive aggressive culture. I mean, Americans are passive. I think they're passive aggressive. I don't think it's apathy. I think it's swallowed resentment. And I think that there's this sort of simmering tension in the culture intergenerationally that expresses itself in lots of weird ways. So I find that West Marin culture that sort of developed by the youngish is obsessed with a false nostalgia for the past, which to me is really for the 1970s and back to the landers and stuff, which to me says we want to go back to that time where it was cheaper to buy a house or cheaper to buy land, or there were more job opportunities, or there was a better art market. There was more ability to support yourself with your art.
You've done that
Life
yourself.
was simpler.
Life was simpler. It really wasn't, but
it wasn't.
But if it appeared that way. But there does seem to be more fragmentation. But even I grew up. I was a TV child, and there were just a few networks, and people used to bond about, what show did you watch last night? We used to talk about, the latest, the latest developments on the series that we loved, and But now people have so many different ways of amusing themselves, so many ways to express themselves, and we don't even know everything that's going on in the internet, like the dark internet, the internet of people that think so opposite of what we do, like the people that support
ISIS recruitment.
Yeah, there you go. And there's a netherworld going on. So there's so many
we become idiosyncratic.
Coexistent words, yes.
I think, I do see a lot more idiosyncrasy. That the important thing when you have a common cultural event, like a television program on, the 3 networks, right, that everybody watches, it isn't the content itself. It isn't, is Laverne and Shirley really that good? What it is that conversation the next day and the way in which we reveal ourselves to each other, the way in which these other ideas come out. And there's a famous sociological work called Bowling Alone, which was the culture of bowling in America, which was this place where people could discuss politics. It's not about bowling. It's about people going to the same place on a regular basis and sitting at the same table and having a beer or whatever it was and talking. And that was the important thing. So we're really obsessed in a weird way by content. And when you look at the content of the internet, some is amazing. The television programs that are produced that are exclusively for the internet, all of the culture and the different things that you're able to access, the richness that gives you, because there's an endless supply of beautiful music and beautiful images and all that sort of thing. But it's robbed us of that other thing, which is, okay, bowling's pretty banal, but you went to this place and you saw these people in physical space in real time, and you talked politics.
It was a gathering place, a community center. In the absence of other community centers, you go there and you're all involved in. It's like the pub, right? You go and play darts and you sit around and talk politics.
Yeah, whereas our bars are drunk bars. Basically just drunks go there on a regular basis.
Well, that's why they're dark, and most of them don't have windows. It's this weird American Puritan thing that. Anyway, a whole different subject.
We'll be at the bar after the show. Anybody who'd like to.
We do have a couple of minutes if you'd love to call in. We'd love for you to call in 663-8492. Give us a parting shot.
Well, Facebook. I was a high school teacher.
Twitter,
I was a high school teacher for 1 year,
Instagram.
Which is enough. It was long enough for me to realize that corporal punishment should be brought back into schools. And I would ask the kids about their Facebook. Who has the most friends? This is 7-8 years ago now, maybe longer. And somebody would raise their hand, have 500 friends. I said, well, what is the common denominator? What can you tell me about all of these people? Can you tell me about their parents? Can you tell me how many siblings you have? Can you tell me what their favorite color is? Almost the only thing that exists about friendship is the label friendship, right? You can't really tell me anything about these people. They are just your friends. So there's no content in friendship. It is just a label.
You're misconstruing the word friend.
Well, I think that, again, words can lose meaning, and it's a terrifying thing to have happen. And, again, we would have to go into the Frankfurt School and the works of Michel Foucault and post-war European philosophy to get into
Perhaps
this.
we don't have quite enough time.
Who's next? Can we just bump who's next? I can speak extemporaneously about this for days. But, yeah, so that idea of friendship, and then think about the culture generally. We're worried about politics right now. As I told my students, your member of Congress has 750,000 Facebook friends, and believe me, he doesn't know anything about any of you. And you'll never meet these people.
Not so true anymore, unfortunately.
You're stuck on this name, friends. You have
what should we call
means
them?
something different.
What would you call that?
Online acquaintance.
Call them Facebook friends.
Facebook friends, right. Which means non-friend.
Which means,
what does that mean?
Which means nothing, really.
It doesn't mean anything.
It doesn't mean anything. There's
somebody
no
who-
emotional attachment.
Yes, but these are
There's
people you can communicate with.
But I think the problem is when
Yeah.
suffering,
For
when
what-
we encounter suffering in our
purpose?
lives, you need real friends in those instances.
Sure.
And that ability to help you process the difficulty, not the happiness, because that's easy, because then everybody's your friend when you're happy. It's when you're sad. Can you really rely on, is empathy really transmitted through such a
I don't know. There's you see people
Maybe.
who are having a hard time, and there's all sorts of commiseration going on. I mean, I've seen that.
Well, there does seem to be a hierarchy of communication because now we have texting. I mean, when was the last time you made phone calls to friends? Do you text more often than you phone? Even in politics, going back to what we were talking about earlier about after having a march, then what do you do? Well, what I do is a follow-up. I contact I'm a Democrat. I contact my Republican congressman, and I tell him how I feel about different issues and how I would like him to vote. And
Via
I understand.
Facebook?
No, I do this. I call him. I was emailing, and then I realized emails are not as effective as calling and leaving messages at his office. So there is a hierarchy there. I don't think it would work to text him at all.
Well, we've done it again. So this has been Let's Talk, and we're very happy to have had all the phone calls, Esmeralda et al. And Amanda.
And Pamela. I thought Pamela was pretty good.
Pamela was very informative. Oh, my goodness. Pamela, I think you work in that business. Don't you?
And Joan, the lovely Joan, who apparently is down in Palos Verdes somewhere, or Orange County. Gracious.
So, anyway, it just remains for me to thank everyone in the studio here.
Thank you, Paul.
Everyone who was listening and called in.